Okay, now we're recording. We're live.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second webinar. Our topic today is going to be the use of multiple cameras so that the kids can get different views of the work you're doing or things that you are working with. And my name is Laura, and I work at Outschool and will be kind of leading this. And with me is Julie. She's our community manager. And she's going to be part of this demonstration as well, because she's going to show us how to use a phone as a camera. And our special guest is Samantha Star. She teaches on Outschool, and she uses multiple cameras in some of her classes. So we're going to begin by having Samantha introduce herself. So if you could tell us a little bit about where you're from, what you teach, how long you've been on Outschool, those sorts of things, that would be awesome.
All right, no problem. Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha Star, and I am from Montreal. I'm a Canadian. So generally, I complain about winter for about 5 to 6 months of the year. So I joined Outschool, I believe, in spring of 2018. So I'm approaching my 1 year, and I think my first class went live in April of 2018. And I teach a lot of French, mainly French, but I also teach some science classes. So I've done dissection classes, which is sort of what inspired my need for multiple cameras, was that I wanted students to be able to see what I was cutting and, chopping up on the table. And I didn't really want to be holding like a fetal pig heart over my laptop. So it kind of came out of necessity. I also teach some slime making classes, so the science of slime, and it's the same problem. I didn't want the slime near my laptop. I've had accidents with liquid around them before, so that really pushed me towards trying to figure out the second camera option, and I'm excited to share it with everyone today.
Oh, thank you so much, Samantha. That's awesome. So what we'll do today is we will have a few questions for Samantha, and then she'll show us how she sets up and uses her camera. And then we'll have Julie do the same thing. And then make sure that if you have any questions, use the Q&A on the bottom of your screen, much like you would find where you share the screen and when you are teaching. And as you ask questions, especially if it's during the time when they are demonstrating, we'll try to get those answered while they're demonstrating, so it's a little bit easier. But we'll also have some time at the end for you to ask questions. So at any time when you have one, please feel free to type those in, and we'll do our best to get all of them answered. So let's get started. Samantha, you said you teach French and some science classes. Can you talk about which classes you use multiple cameras for, and which ones you use one, and maybe what the difference is in terms of why?
So for my French classes, I only use one camera, along with PowerPoint slides and other types of media, simply because it's a language class. There's not really much else going on besides pronunciation and repetition and conversation and things like that. When I'm teaching any of my science classes, so like I said, I have 2 slime classes, and I have a class on the circulatory system where we do a dissection. Then I bring out the second camera, simply because no one's interested in seeing me when we're cutting open a fetal heart. And a lot of the students purchase hearts so that they can follow along at home. So they need to be able to see where I'm cutting, what I'm cutting, things like that. So I would say in the last group I had, I think about 80% of them followed along at home, and the other ones watched tentatively. And the slime classes, we're mixing ingredients and stirring and stuff like that. So it's just more interesting for them to see the actual slime. They're more excited about the slime than anything else. So.
Did you teach the classes at all before you got a second camera?
No.
No?
I don't think so. I think I've always had the second camera. I mean, I've owned it for a couple of years, and the reason that I purchased the second camera was that I'm on a MacBook, and the MacBook cameras in very bright light have a tendency to flicker. So if you're holding up something that's reflective, the MacBook camera would start to flicker, and it was very problematic. So I had purchased the secondary camera to use full time. But now I find that the lighting that I'm in is better. I don't use the outside, the outer camera. I use mainly my MacBook camera on Outschool. And it's been okay. But previously I had some very harsh lighting, and I was holding up flashcards, and it was just, I'd get this weird like disco ball flicker situation. So now I use like digital flashcards and things like that, so it's not a problem. So I've had the second camera. I probably purchased it over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, and it's a good investment. It's a definitely good investment.
Okay, we do have a few questions, but I'm going to ask you a few more before we get to those. But keep them coming if you have them. How do you think using those multiple cameras has helped your learners?
Well, in the circulatory system class where we do the dissection, I don't want to say it would be impossible to teach the class without the secondary camera, but it definitely would be not as an engaging experience, because you're either showing diagrams of where to cut or someone else's video of where to cut, and that's not really what people come to Outschool for. They don't want me to show them a diagram of where to cut a hearts. They want to watch me cut it as I'm narrating what I'm doing, and they want to be able to follow along. So I think that class would be, I think it would be a flop without the secondary camera. I think it would be way less engaging. And the slime classes, I just do it, for fun. It's not necessary, but like I said, it does keep liquid away from my laptop, and I call it the slime cam, and the kids love that, like slime cam. So, it's sort of a gimmick in the slime class, definitely not necessary, but it's, it looks good. Parents like it, students like it. So I don't want to say it's a gimmick it is. It's a gimmick in the slime class.
So if our teachers in the audience are thinking about using a secondary camera, what advice would you try to give them?
So you want to invest in a camera that has an automatic focus on it. So some of the lower end like Logitech, for example, they don't have an automatic focus. So sometimes if you're moving around things in front of the camera, things might come in and out of focus. So you really want to look for something that has that automatic focus. It's going to cost you a little bit more, but the picture is much clearer. And we're going to see that in a second, that probably the picture on the other camera is clearer than, right now I'm using my MacBook one. I would say the picture on the other camera is probably clearer, and I'll show you guys the model of camera that I have. I'm in no way sponsored by Logitech or anything like that, but when I was looking, for good webcams, this one was at a comfortable price point for me, and it had the autofocus, and it adjusted in light and stuff like that.
Okay, awesome. Well, one of our questions was, do you use the webcam as an extra? Not 100% sure I know what that means, but
maybe we'll answer it when we demonstrate.
Oh, okay, excellent.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to ask one more then. And Jamie, if you could clarify that question, we can probably come back to it. But one teacher is asking about the supplies. Do you find that you get less enrollments for classes that require purchased material? Do you think that affects you at all?
It's hard to say. I mean, in my dissection classes, they have the option to either purchase it or not. It's not mandatory because they can follow along thanks to the secondary camera. It's quite vivid and realistic. The slime classes, most of the supplies are, you know, pretty common. And a lot of the kids in the class tell me, oh, I've already made slime. I offer another slime class where we make magnetic slime. And for that, you have to purchase a certain type of iron oxide or iron filings. And that class, I definitely have less enrollment than in the basic slime class, because the iron filings and the iron oxide can be like, I don't know, $15 or $20 for the bottle or the package. So I think that might, you know, prohibit people. But I mean, if you're a science teacher, you know, try to use things that people would normally have. I mean, for the regular slime class, the only ingredient that they probably don't have is contact lens solution. All right, that's what that's what we use to as our slime activator. Everything else is glue and baking soda and food coloring. It's nothing bananas. So it's really just a matter of, you know, finding that that midpoint. I have had students sign up last minute who didn't have any of the supplies, and they still followed along and they still enjoyed it and they still gave great feedback. So you really just have to, you know, make the most of it and hope that the supply list isn't too daunting.
Excellent, thank you. So let's have you show us how you use your secondary camera and how you set it up, and walk us through it as much as you can.
All right, awesome. Could you spotlight my video perhaps so that I'm there? Huh.
There you go.
So
cool.
All right, so I'm gonna do a quick demonstration of, first I'm just gonna switch to the other camera just so that we see what's going on. And there's the other camera. Okay, so it's really as smooth as that. You can switch back and forth without really having to stop what you're doing, without having to interrupt what you're saying. So as I mentioned, I have an external camera, and I'll show you my setup right here. So I took a picture of this earlier. I'll show you my setup. So this is what it looks like. All right, over here. So I have a camera that's hanging off of a magazine rack. All right, so let me move this one out of the way. Hang on just one second. So I have a camera that's hanging off of a magazine, like one of those magazine folder things. I don't know what the proper term for it is. Magazine carton, I don't know. And it was, I mean, I just had it one day. I was like, how am I gonna prop up this camera? So it's just balancing on there. It's plugged into my laptop. I have to have like a extra USB port because I have so much plugged into my laptop right now, because I have a wireless mouse, a wireless keyboard, the headset, and the camera. So the camera is hooked up by USB. All right, and it's just hanging out here. I teach in my dining room, as you can see. That's my kitchen over there. So it's really, you don't need a fancy setup in order to end up there. And I'm going to show you now. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask you one question? Did you need to download any software or anything like that when you purchased this to be able to use it?
The camera, it does have a software that you can download. And when you download the software, it allows you to play with the lighting, and it lets you decide if you want to go widescreen or standard, things like that. So the Logitech camera does have a software. I use it sometimes when I'm truth be told, I've dropped my camera a few times, as I was saying to Laura when we first met. I dropped it a few times, and it doesn't focus as well as it should. So sometimes I have to go in and just play with it, but the picture is still pretty good considering how many times I've dropped it. And then, so in order to switch from one camera to another, I'm just going to show this. So this is a screen capture. All right. So if you look down here in our Zoom taskbar that we all have when we're teaching, there's an arrow next to the video button. And when you click on it, it's going to detect that you have two cameras. Okay. So you just have to click on the camera that you want it to use. So, right now it's on the HD Pro camera, and that's the model number there, the C920. Okay, and then if I wanted to switch back to FaceTime, I would which the FaceTime is the MacBook camera. I just give it a click, and I click on FaceTime and it'll switch right back. So it's really super simple. I mean, it's as simple as page sharing. I mean, it's probably even simpler. And once you have that extra camera hooked up, Zoom automatically detected it. I didn't have any issues with that at all.
Okay, excellent. I interrupted you with a question there. Were you going to share other things?
I think I had one other picture of the setup with my laptop, just so that you guys can see my full, hang on just one second, the full setup, and Julie's smiling face. All right.
Am I frozen?
Exactly. So I keep my laptop up on a stand, just like as a PSA. If you spend a lot of hours in front of your laptop teaching, it should not be on the table. It needs to be at almost eye level. I ended up with really bad headaches because I was looking down, and it's also a weird angle for your students to see you at as well. So I purchased one of these little risers and a wireless keyboard, so you can see everything's hooked up to the side here. And then I just have whatever I'm working on the table next to me. And whether it's slime or a pig heart, you just go for it.
Okay. So, Julie, would you like to describe, or not Julie? Yeah, it is Julie. I'm looking at Julie and Jamie on the screen here. Can you show us how you would go about using the camera on your phone?
Yeah, just before I do that, I noticed that there were a couple of questions from folks asking how you're switching between the cameras. Samantha, I was wondering if maybe you want to share your screen and show the little section where the video button is, so that way folks can see more clearly.
All right, so it's not appearing down here. That's why I had that picture of it.
Oh, I see.
Because when you share the screen, it doesn't show your taskbar at the bottom. But hang on, I have that screenshot that I took earlier. So let me pull that up. Okay, so hang on just 1 second.
No worries.
So if we take a look here, okay, we can all see, this is a screenshot. That's why it looks so weird. That's why you have the Zoom panel behind it and stuff like that. So down here, when you're in your Zoom meeting as a teacher, you have your share button, your manage participants button, your chat button. And then all the way on the left, you have a button for your audio and a button for your video, okay? So everyone should see that now, or maybe not now because we're in screen share, but if you move your mouse down, sometimes it pops up, sometimes it doesn't. But also if you bring, in my case, if I bring my mouse to the top of the screen, okay, I can click on that little arrow, okay? So it's either gonna be at the, when you're screen sharing, it's at the top, okay? And when you're, this I'm not screen sharing, this is like I was practicing earlier. So you click that arrow, okay? When you click that arrow, it gives you your options for cameras, okay? Also, fun fact is that you can choose a virtual background. So if you have a green screen, you can, I have a student who in my French classes, he shows up and he's like in outer space. You see how it says choose a virtual background. But yeah, you just click the little arrow and it's gonna tell you which cameras you have connected. Okay, so in my case, I have the outer camera, the Logitech, and then the my built-in camera here. And if I, hang on, maybe if I do like, I don't know if I do this, if you guys will see that at the top, the drop down. No, it just shows it on my side. So play around with that on your devices. Laura and Julie, you can tell me if that works for you. When you click on the arrow, it should tell you what camera you're currently using, right? Does it say like built in something? So when you have the two cameras plugged in, it will give you the option to switch back and forth, and you just click, right? If I were to do it right now, watch what would happen. I'm suddenly a bull, okay? So generally when I'm teaching, when I'm doing the science classes, because there's a part of it that's theory, what I do is I'll do the theory with my face when we're talking about the science of slime and et cetera, et cetera. I'll do it so that they can see my face. Because right now it's kind of awkward that I'm talking to you guys and you're looking at a bowl. All right. So when I'm actually teaching, they'll see my face. And then we're in the PowerPoint and it's time to make the slime and everyone's super excited. And then all of a sudden it's time for the slime cam. All right. So now they see the recipe on the screen and they see the bowl, and I'm telling them we're putting in, 3/4 of a cup of whatever and mixing it. And this is what they end up seeing while they're actually making the slime or cutting open I don't have any pig hearts around, or else I'd show you that, but and that's sort of how I determine which camera to use when.
All right. Thank you so much, Samantha.
No
I think
problem.
that cleared it up. So we do have some people who are asking about 2 cameras at once by joining the class, and I think that's what Julie is going to show us. So let's move on to that and see if we can answer some of these questions just by you demonstrating for us.
Yeah, thanks so much, Laura. And yeah, definitely, I know that Lauren, you specifically had asked this in the Q&A about using multiple cameras, so that way they can see your face and something else that you're doing at the same time. So that's going to be what we get into here. I didn't take pictures in advance like Samantha did because she's so prepared, but I'm going to rotate my computer and show you my setup right now, which Samantha is also going to laugh at me because it's a little bit haphazard. But I have a little stack of books, and then I have my phone, and I have a piece of paper that I've put under the phone camera so that way you can see it. I'm going to rotate my laptop back, and I'm going to walk you through how you can join just like this. So the first step that you're wanting to do is to join the Zoom meeting from your laptop. Because you always want to be teaching on a laptop. It's just a little bit better for the connection and for processing and streaming Zoom. So go ahead and head to your classroom and join with your laptop using the Start Live Meeting link. And then you're going to pull up your phone and you're going to go ahead to your classroom on the phone as well. So you can head there from, a confirmation email, or maybe you have the page bookmarked in your phone browser, but just make sure that you bring it up on your mobile device. Since I don't really have a link for this webinar, I'm just joining from my Zoom app. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Start Meeting from my phone. But one thing that I'm going to make sure I do is I'm going to mute myself right away, because anytime you have 2 devices in one room with microphones, it's going to cause some feedback. It's going to be pretty ugly. So I'm just going to be really silent right now while I join. Okay, so I just disconnected my audio, and you can probably see that my face camera is on. When you're on Zoom, you just go ahead and tap on the screen, and you'll see a little camera icon that has 2 arrows going around it. You can click that, and it will switch to your actual camera. So now I'm just going to go ahead and set this up above my piece of paper. Another little tricky thing with phones is the auto rotate, where it switches from portrait mode to landscape mode. But all you have to do is give it a little flip and it should go back. Some people lock their orientation on their phone. I always do that. So you just make sure you unlock it if you want to get that full screen mode, because your students aren't really going to like looking at the vertical video. And right now I'm just balancing my phone very carefully on top of my stack of books. So that way you can see this little Outschool paper note that I have, and I can do a little drawing for you guys. Not an artist. But this is a great way to, demonstrate something on pen and paper. There's a couple of teachers who use this for their classes, like Jerry Joe Seltzer has these Fortnite character drawing classes, so he'll go ahead and draw on here. Megan Tauber, who was actually the one to introduce me to this technique, uses this for her cake decorating classes. She actually has a tripod set up attached to her kitchen counter, and is pointing at her cake while she's decorating it. And then she has her laptop in a separate section, which is pointing at her. So you can see the full view from her laptop camera. And then from her iPad camera, you can just see focused on the cake. And one thing to do for this is, so as the host in the webinar, I can spotlight the video. You probably don't want to see that actually. But you can also direct students to pin a video if you want to. So you can direct your students to hover over the view that they want, the tiny square that they want, go to the top right corner of that tiny square where there's 3 blue dots, or 3 dots in a blue square, and you can click pin video. That way each individual participant can pin whatever they want to see up close, whether it's, you know, your face or the objects that you're sharing, or maybe another student in class who is sharing something as well. So let me just take one more look at my notes and see if I happen to miss anything. Oh, one more important thing is you should make sure if you're doing this, because you have 2 devices connecting in, just make sure that your phone is connected to Wi-Fi as well, because if you're coming in from the mobile network, it might not be as strong as your Wi-Fi depending on where you are. And you'll need to be able to make sure that this device is streaming well as your laptop is streaming. So make sure that you do that. And yeah, this is something that can be done. So my phone is just a simple Android Motorola phone. You can also use your iPhones or iPads or other tablets. And if you're using something that's a little bit off-brand, maybe just double check the Zoom settings, and you can just search on Zoom, you know, Zoom device requirements, to make sure that your device will work. But this is something that can be used for almost anything. Another option that we're not going to cover today is going to be about AirPlay. And that's something where if you go to share your screen, you will see an option, and this is in your meeting. So once you're in a meeting to test this out, you should see an option under the share button that says iPod or iPod, that's so old, iPhone or iPad via AirPlay. And you can click on that and share that. But that can be a little bit buggy sometimes. I've heard of some teachers having problems with it. So using this to call in with your phone instead, that's a really great backup option if something goes wrong with your screen sharing. And Kristen was mentioning that this went a little bit fast. One thing that I'll do is go ahead and post some steps, a step-by-step written list of what to do, along with a recording of this video so you can check it out. But the basic, you know, breakdown of this is going to be that you're going to just join the meeting with your phone. So there'll be 2 of you in the meeting, one on the laptop and one on the phone. Make sure you mute yourself, point it at whatever you're focusing on, and you should be good to go.
So the steps essentially when you join on your phone are exactly the same as when you join a regular meeting, but you just want to use the laptop first because then the laptop is the host, correct?
Exactly.
Awesome. Excellent. All right. Well, does anyone else have questions? We have a couple more in there. Oh, wait.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
We're managing the questions together.
Amanda is wondering, Samantha, if do the teachers not prefer to see their, both struggling, do the students not prefer to see their teacher as the class is being given? So when you're switching between them, do you feel like there's maybe any disconnect with the students if they can't see you when you're mixing your slime or cutting your...
I can only go on feedback that I've gotten from parents, and the feedback has all been very, very good. Like I said, when we're doing the dissection, they are not interested in me. They are interested in the heart. You know, I do switch back and forth. If there's something that I feel is important, you know, that they, you know, guys, you know, we're doing this, and then all of a sudden, please be sure that you're wearing your gloves. Okay, everyone, please make sure that you're wearing your gloves. Okay, let's go back now. We're going to add the baking soda to the mixture. So I don't only pick one and stay on it for, you know, 25 minutes. I'm often going back and forth. And I've gotten good feedback from parents. So to me, I don't think I think if you have a good presence, then it'll overcome the fact that they can't see your face. And to be honest, when I look at their faces, they're all looking at the slime. So they like I could have a paper bag over my head and I don't think that they would really care. They're all about the slime.
Awesome, thank you. So we are running up against the end of our time here. We have one more question and I'll try to have you answer real quick. Do you have any issues with audio as you go between cameras, or you know, you're using headphones, you move around with these? Mm-hmm. Do you have any issues in that regard?
No, because the same way that you can control your video on Zoom, you can also control your audio. So you've already told it what your preferred audio source is, so it'll always stick to that. So if you've told it to use the microphone on your MacBook, it'll stick to that, and the camera switching doesn't affect it because it treats them as separate entities.
Okay, awesome. Very good. So we are going to wrap up for today. Like I said, thank you everybody who joined in, and especially thank you to Julie and Samantha for sharing their wealth of knowledge with us. And we hope that some of you can use this and you know, make your class maybe more accessible or interesting. You can, you know, use it for cooking and drawing, like Julie has mentioned. But even if you maybe read a book to the students, it would be good to have a camera on that book. Or if you want to show them pictures that you have on hand rather than on your computer, these secondary cameras are definitely a nice help for that. So if you have any other questions, we're here at support and we can help you at any time. And we will be posting this in several different places, so you can take a look at it again. And just remember, if at any time you have ideas for a webinar, please let Julie or I know, and we would love to accommodate you.
Thank you.
Right.
That's adorable. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, everyone. If you have more questions, head to the Facebook group or email us at support@outschool.com. We'd be happy to help you out.